Welcome to the Designated Drinker Show, the podcast that's raising the bar on craft cocktails. I am your host, Louise Salas, and with me, as always, is my very, very talented friend who is a true trailblazer. She may or may not do it while sporting beaver pelts and coonskin hats. She is the mixtress, DC Gina.
Did you get some of my college photos? I feel like you might have. Just kidding. I almost said high school, college, whatever. Hi, Louise.
Hey. All right, you ready for this?
No.
Okay, here we go.
I hate the quizzes, guys.
No quiz. This one's a good one.
Oh,
Right,
okay. I
just
thought
sit
you were going
back.
to quiz me. That was the quiz face.
Yeah, was it? Did I give you the quiz face?
Yeah, so I was like,
Maybe I'm just being inquisitive.
Oh.
All right, here we go. All right, I got a little ditty for you. You ready? It's an early morning. The humidity is thick, and yet the air still has a bit of a chill to it. The date is May 14th, 1804. And two very brave men, named Meriwether and William, are preparing to embark on an adventure that will go on to chisel their names in American history. Without the help of Google Maps, weather apps, or even roads sprinkled with crackle barrels waiting for them at every exit, they will face the daunting task of exploring uncharted territories with limited resources and no knowledge of what lay ahead. What they do have is a sense of purpose and a commitment to bravely explore, to map new territories, and to establish a trade route to the Pacific. They will embrace the unknown and navigate through numerous challenges, all the while never asking, are we there yet?
That's what my kids say.
So, it's amazing to think about how Lewis and Clark navigated through unknown territory and overcame so many obstacles. And their story, it can motivate just about anybody to embrace the unknown and to pursue their dreams, don't you think?
Yes, but one of them died psychotically and got robbed by the other.
Oh, that's crazy. I don't know that story.
Oh yeah, Lewis and Clark was a very dark story.
It is, but the part that we know about that we learned in 5th grade history
is our guest today the thief?
We don't
or
know.
The crazy?
I'm very
excited.
Let's find out. Let's find out because her story is also one of trailblazing. She's blazed her own trail by turning her love of food, finance, and startups into Flourishing Venture Capital Fund. Please welcome the founder and managing director of Mokja Ventures, Elaine Chon-Baker. Welcome to the show, Elaine. And if I said butchered any of that, please fix it for me.
Okay. Hello, how are you? I'm glad to be here.
A murderer or an adventurer? That's what
Maybe a little bit of both.
Yes.
Maybe all of the above.
Give her time.
Yes.
She's a young woman. You never know.
I've got 3 kids, so who knows?
Someone's got to go.
Yeah.
Either someone's going to go, or if someone crosses them,
There you go.
maybe we cut that out. Because I just read that story, the woman that wrote the book about how to murder your husband, and then she got arrested for murdering her husband.
Excuse me. She wrote a book about how to, no, don't cut any of this out. She wrote the book about how to grieve if your husband's been murdered for her children, and then they arrested her 2 years later for the murder of her husband.
Oh my goodness.
That is correct.
Also, that's pretty ballsy. Like sit there and be like, I don't know, it's to grieve. I mean, come on.
It's self-therapy, right? She just did her own therapy.
Yes. Maybe she's the healthiest of all of us. I do love you, Neil. I wasn't thinking about that.
No, you might want to edit that part out.
What, I love Neil?
Yeah. No.
I was like, honey, we're not going to cut that out.
We are not. We are good people here.
All right, so we want to know what you're doing, but please, will you, you shared this with me, it's great. Will you please share how your life of being a rebel began? Can we go back to your childhood?
Well, let's just start with our family story, because I think that's what gives you some context about the immigrant story and how I may or may have not followed the traditional path. But my parents, who are Korean, came over to the United States with 2 suitcases, 2 kids, and $300.
Wow.
And they started a life here in the United States, not knowing any English. Or my dad knew some English. My mom had very little English, and so just like a lot of stories that you hear, she watched a lot of TV to try to learn. I think she was watching soap operas, but was so disturbed by the love entanglements, and so she stopped watching. I think ended up watching Sesame Street with my sisters. my older sisters.
My dad learned English from Woody Woodpecker. My father came, I'm first generation here.
Yeah, exactly. And nowadays everyone tells us that they learn English from watching Friends. And I was like, this is the problem with America.
One of many.
And so I actually turned out to be number 3 of 7 girls.
Wow.
Not a single boy, but I mean, why do we have 7 girls? It's because there was never a son born. So I always grew up knowing that I wasn't a boy, and I wasn't, and none of my sisters were boys. So we always were, in our heads, we're thinking like, okay, how do we prove to our parents that we are better than a boy? And so we, it was just a thing that we grew up with. And so when they talk about like, women's rights and feminism, I'm like, oh no, that was just our life growing up. It's like there was nothing to challenge us other than ourselves. And so, like every good, Korean kid, I got a scholarship to university.
Of course you did.
And I chose to study chemical engineering because I was like, if I have to go to school, where can I make the most money? I was like, chemical engineering. Well, I realized after the first year that I didn't really like this. And then in the second year, I truly believed that this was not the place for me. So I took a field trip to an oil refinery, because that's what good chemical engineers do, is work in oil refineries. And I realized like that was the most horrific thing I could imagine doing in my life. And then I realized, like after talking to my parents, that they would not let me quit school. They wouldn't even like allow me to think about like changing to something else, because they were just like, just finish. Yeah. Like you're just giving up early. So I decided that I would fail out of college because I had to find a way to never go back.
Wow. Yes. That's an extreme measure.
I did not know that.
Oh, yes. That's what I did. Because I knew if I still, was successful enough, I mean, I think you fail at 1.8, a GPA of under 1.8, you get kicked out.
1.7.
Or 1.7.
Academic probation's at 1.9 to 1.8.
Okay.
And then you're out at 1.7.
Okay, so I was
I had academic probation for one semester. When they told me I had to go back to Long Island, I said, I'll fix it. I don't want to go back to Long Island.
Well, I was just like, I have to get out. And so I made sure I failed in style. And funnily enough, during that summer, a letter came from the university saying, oh, we actually miscalculated your GPA because you were taking honors classes, so you actually can come back. And I ripped up the letter. And I didn't tell my mom until maybe 2 years ago. During the pandemic, I think we reveal all these secrets to our family members. We're like, oh my gosh, I just want to tell you this really quick. And my mom was so disappointed, even after all these years. But she just, I mean, as as an immigrant family, education was the solution to success. Yeah. Like, if you get an education, you can do whatever you want. And I proved that wrong. Funnily enough, my parents live with me. Out of all the 7 girls, my parents chose to live with me and my kids. So sometimes
you have wonderful children. That's why.
Well, I think they are good kids. They're really good kids. I mean, they're cool kids, right?
Yeah,
they're laid back,
cool too.
Easygoing. But I also think
I wonder where they get that from.
Her daughter's an amazing artist.
Yes,
for sure.
Yes. I did a little
but I think sometimes my parents wanted to stay with me because they were just keeping an eye on me to make sure I didn't fuck up the kids. That's just a side thought.
I'm sure it's not true.
Although I don't know. I don't know. Maybe.
Maybe, right?
Like, what is she gonna do now?
What could she quit?
Yeah.
What
would she tell them to do? We'll stay here.
Well, so then that began this ongoing journey of trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And weirdly enough, I started working for an environmental engineering firm as a temporary, a temp employee.
Yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah, the temporary employee. I thought that was
what was the name of that? Kelly
Temporary Services. Yeah. That's who I worked for, and I worked in the marketing group. And it was kind of like, oh, cool, I'm in this environmental engineering firm. I know about environmental engineering. Well, then a year after having a really horrific boss, she was horrific. I mean, but that taught me a lot about how you manage people. I got moved into the air quality group, and I began to do bits of chemical engineering.
You couldn't get away from it.
Which I was like, oh, this is so weird. Then I was like, wait, you can learn anything on the job. Like, you don't have to have, and we didn't even have the internet back then because this was 93. Yeah. 1993, kids. And so.
The dark ages.
Yeah, so I could do whatever they told me to do. They just taught me, and then I started training Air Force bases on an air quality database that, it was this insane time of travel and learning for me, but I loved it. And then I realized, okay, on to the next thing. And so I ended up working in telecom and global telecom for a company called Iridium. And once again, started from the bottom, and then...
Iridium phones?
Iridium phones, yeah.
So the reason I know that is because they're satellite phones, and Dave used to call me from them from Afghanistan.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. That was us.
Yeah.
There was a really cute story about an Iridium phone. There was a guy in the Antarctic who had a phone, and every week he would make a call at the same time every week. And so, but one week he didn't make the call, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, like he didn't make the call. Like, is he okay? And they decided, because they were so concerned, that I think they had a vested interest in the well-being of this person who was all alone, and they did a customer service call, like, hi, we'd just like to check on your service, see if you're enjoying the product, and he was okay.
Oh, that's good.
But it was cute because back then it was such early days with technology that, this was so cutting edge and so important to how we communicate now. It was one of the best jobs I ever had in my life. And so...
That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I loved it. I ended up becoming a project manager and working with Mexico, Germany, Brazil, and North America, which is Arizona. And so I got to travel all over the world.
Wow.
And got to be part of something that, was so, like, cutting edge back then.
Yeah.
Really cutting edge. And now we kind of take tech for granted.
Yeah.
But...
Oh, unless it fails you.
Yes. Yes.
I remember
when tech fails you, your life falls apart.
Were all cellular phones called that? No, the ones that you used to carry with the case, with the battery bag.
It was a bag phone, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I remember going out for the first time ever when I was in my 20s, and I had like a big hunking phone. But I was like, look how cool I am. I have a phone.
I have a giant phone.
I have a giant phone, boys.
I'm going to call that payphone over there. So go over there, and it's going to cost me $11, but I'm going to call you.
And my battery lasts for 3 hours, and it weighs 85 pounds.
I remember the cellular phone. My brother had a phone like that. And he drove me to my girlfriend's house, and he's like, "Get a call." I'm like, "I'm outside your house," and he's like, "Hang up." I'm like, "Okay." And she came outside. He's like, "Oh my God, you have a cellular." I mean, I was in high school.
It was like the coolest thing. I mean, we really. I mean, like I think I heard a commercial on the way here actually. And it was like, oh, they were talking about like, oh, in my day we did this, in my day we did this, and then there was like, finally it's like this old lady saying, well, in my day we had like the phone and it was attached to a wall and it had a cord, and then an even older woman says, well, back in the day I wrote letters, and then the kid on the commercial goes, oh, that's the original texting, and I was like, well, nothing that long.
That's the original texting. Are you kidding me? No. I know it's crazy. Did you see they're remaking? And this has nothing to do with anything. They're remaking Discman. Can you even hear that?
Yes,
like, why?
Yeah,
do you want this
there's
thing?
a new surgeon. It'll last for like 4 seconds of the old Walkman.
Discman.
They're going back to
not the tape, the disc.
Yeah.
Okay, which is probably good.
They're doing the tape too. They're doing them both. They want to bring back that bright yellow thing.
I need the resurgence to happen because I probably have like 10 boxes of CDs in my garage.
You've kept yours,
but because I can't throw them away because it's like, oh, I love this band. Oh, it's New Order. And the one I got, and then this is like the Metallica like. Dual
You can put it on your computer, right?
I know. I keep the music, but it's like there's like a sense of nostalgia with the actual, the CD case and the CD insert.
I got rid of mine some time ago.
Shaking your head.
Yeah, I got rid of mine.
I am the worst, although I do collect records. I don't know. I like records. It's all right, so CDs are the same thing, really, right? Records just sound worse. Literally, I love the commitment to listening to one whole album.
I know. Like, you don't have a choice.
No, it's nice.
It's great, right?
That's how you prove you don't have ADD. Because you can listen to an entire album and not take it off. Or if you have to flip the record, then you like maybe.
Or you actually do and you just don't hear it anymore because you're doing 84 other things.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it just becomes background.
Because you're not really just sitting there just watching the record, I'm assuming, unless you're stoned.
Hold on. There's that.
Okay, maybe that's the next test.
Wait a minute. Maybe I am. I don't know.
Back in those mushrooms again.
Sometimes I just look at it and I'm like, I don't know. I do love the record. Sometimes we throw in a record, it's best. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting off topic.
That's funny. That's the purpose of the show, I think.
What? To smoke weed?
No, to get off subject.
Like, what? Like, that's a different show. But okay, I'll be on that show too.
Yeah, I wouldn't do well on that show. I have nothing to contribute.
You're gonna be the moderator.
Yeah, I will be the only non-stoned person there.
You're the only person talking.
I'll be
staring at you.
I'll be tipsy.
I'll be like,
yeah.
I don't know what she's saying. It's funny though. I'll just like look at her. Anyway, sorry. Keep going.
I don't know.
So
fresh. Yeah.
So we're doing iridium phones. So
So then
what's
you have the
next?
job there, the cutest job ever, and then.
And then I met my husband.
Oh.
At a couple of jobs later, but it was just like Iridium ended up filing for bankruptcy, and then I ended up going into another job, and then another job, because everyone in telecom, it was like boom, and then there's a lot of bust.
Yep.
And so, I had a kid too. I had Julia. I had my daughter in between. And then at my last telecom job, it was like, well, is telecom so great? I ended up meeting my husband, who was from England. And so...
he got you with that accent, didn't he?
Actually, it was really weird because I was so deeply single that when I was supposed to meet him at the elevator to let him into the building because we were so secure, and so I was like, oh, okay. And I was just laughing to myself, oh my gosh, wouldn't it be hilarious if this is my future husband?
You did not say that.
I did. In my head, I was laughing so hard to myself because I was like, that's so funny. I love being single. That's hilarious. And needless to say, from the day we met to the day we got married, it was like about a year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was fast. It was
fast.
But it was great. And then I moved to London. And so started a London life, which was like one of the best experiences of my life too.
Yeah.
Is to be in a different country that speaks English, which was nice, but it was our first time, and to raise Julia in the UK was phenomenal. So we were there from 2001 to 2007.
Oh, nice.
That's a long time.
Yeah, and I had a son on. So everyone talks about national health care. Like, why don't we have national health care in the U.S.? It's great when it works, and then when you have a baby and you have a C-section and you deliver, and then you end up being put in a room with 4 other women or 3 other women, it's traumatic. and you have midwives that are yelling at you, and that was not fun. Somehow I was in the bed next to the window, and there were no curtains in the window, and so I looked out, and there's like all the neighbors just doing their things in their apartments in their flats across the way. And so we ended up putting, newspapers on the windows.
Oh.
And then because it was such a horrific experience, I checked myself out of the hospital.
Wow.
Yeah. Not, this is not medical advice, do not do this, but I figured if something happened, I would just come back in because it's the NHS.
Yeah.
And so I had a 9-pound, 12-ounce son.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So she was yelling at me for not lifting him up and changing him. I'm like, I can't lift. I just had a C-section.
Wow.
So it was one of those things where you're just I'm grateful that we had that kind of availability for healthcare in general, but then at the same time having had a baby in the U.S. and had a very nice, very Fairfax Hospital to be all of a sudden be thrown in this. It was very tough.
That was a 10-pound baby?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He's now 6 feet tall, so I was like, wow. I'm glad you grew into that.
Yeah, you're like, you almost killed me. So you should move in with him.
Yeah.
I picked you. You almost killed me. Now I'm going to kill you.
You owe me.
Are we back to Merriweather?
Yeah. Maybe you will get there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we lived in London. Life is great until things don't go well, and and you happen to maybe get divorced. And so divorce happened in 2013, and so that was kind of the beginning of something that I never expected to happen. I already had an investment in a distillery, Catoctin Creek Distillery in Purcellville, Virginia.
Yes,
So
yes, we've had them on the show.
Yeah.
We just made a drink today with them. We could talk with Watershed.
Oh yeah, Watershed Gin.
Yes,
right?
we did.
Oh yeah, fantastic. I mean, but not even knowing anything about distilling or anything about alcohol, I was just like that. You know, when we were married, I'm like, that's the right investment we need to make into this couple. It wasn't like, oh, I love their whiskey, this is what I'm investing in. It was more like I'm investing in the team. But I didn't know anything. I even said to my husband at the time, I was like, oh, you do the paperwork, but I know this is the right thing. And, you know, move along, like, next. And same thing with the first restaurant investment we had, too. I knew it was, like, something that was going to be important in the time. And didn't even bother sitting in the negotiations or anything. Once again, I was like, you take care of it. I know this is the right thing. Well,
Wow.
Yeah, a little bit crazy. But, you know, by that time we had 3 kids, and I was kind of living the suburban mom life and just trying to survive every day with 3 children.
And maybe brush your hair.
Yeah, and, just general living, because I think the boys were young. They were 4 and 6. No, I don't know how old were they. 4 and 6. Let's go with 4 and 6.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, and so when the divorce happened, the restaurant wasn't open yet, and I went into the chef and I said, "Hey, can I help out?" And he was like, "You're supposed to be a silent investor. Da da da. You're not supposed to be in here. You know." And I was like, "Okay, that's cool. Like, I get it. Like, I totally understand that." I go, "But is there anything? You know, you're opening in a month. What can I do to help you? Like, can I paint? Can I screw furniture together?" Yeah. I was like, "I don't know what you do. I mean, I've never even worked in a restaurant before and took a restaurant investment. So this is also a little bit like not the typical things that people do." And I finally saw him one day putting all the invoices into QuickBooks. And I said, "Oh, I can help you with QuickBooks." And he just kind of laughed at me. I was like, no, don't laugh at me. I was the PTA treasurer for 2 years at the elementary school. I know QuickBooks. And he said, "Okay, fine. Fine. I'll follow what I do, and then we'll see how you do." And I was like, "Okay, I can enter." Like, I was like, I can do this. And so what turned into like entering invoices turned into basically learning the restaurant industry from the back office. Wow. And so I got the chance to actually understand like the financial side versus, the hospitality side or the service side or the kitchen side. I was in the back office, and that was something that I couldn't have learned in any other way, shape, or form. No one's going to teach you in school. Not that I would go, but at least
I think you've already established that part.
I have a hard time sitting and listening to someone for long periods of time. I realize that, like, when it's like maybe it's like this rebellion in me that's always like, oh, someone's trying to tell me something, and but it was great to be able to learn this. And then I got to work the floor one night when no one else was available in the entire world. They let me be the floor manager for one night, and it was great. I mean, but it makes you realize how hard it is to keep everyone happy in a restaurant. You know, and so I really appreciated what I saw with everyone working there. And then from what I learned, I mean, the restaurant industry has like some of the hardest working people in the world. Absolutely. And to work so hard with no health insurance in most cases, low pay, and very demanding customers, and a lot of assholes out there too. Yep. It's, it makes you go, okay, we have to be really grateful for the opportunities that we have to dine out. The willingness that people are trying to open up restaurants again and again,
And give you their food and hope for the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now with technology too, and Yelp and all these different platforms of how you can complain without having to talk to a human being.
That passive aggressive crap.
Yeah, it's frustrating, because when it's going well, and when it's not going well, then it's really tricky. And so I did gain a massive appreciation for the industry, which then, of course, led to the next part of my life.
Speaking of tricky.
Let's do it. Let's do a little tip today.
Let's do it. We got tiptoeing through the tulip tips.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
So, did you know I knew a magic trick? Well, I do. It's very, very simple. It's the easiest way to clean passion fruit you could ever use. The frozen aisle. This is probably one of the best products you can get. Very, very, very simple. And it's already done for you. And they're bite-sized pieces of passion fruit. And if you've ever tried to clean passion fruit, it's really hard. So I use this all the time as a trick. Sometimes I can't get it out, so I'm gonna just use my old trusty knife and open up the bag. So far, so hard, right? So this is available pretty much anywhere. So this is kind of like a passion fruit puree. So really what you wanna do is you wanna strain this off. And if it's really good passion fruit, which this is, it should be a really beautiful puree. And you're saying, why passion fruit, right? Well, let me tell you, passion fruit is your substitute for lemon and like that acidic taste, as well as this really perfumey, beautiful flavor profile. And the reason why I double strained it back into the bowl is because I don't want that in my drinks. If I was making a different kind of like, say an acai bowl or a curry or something like that, and I was gonna cook with it, totally different. Doesn't matter if it's in there. You all know me. You've all been here with me. I do not drink the salads in my drink. So you're gonna double strain it, leaving this beautiful puree, and then we're gonna use this in a cocktail. That's simple. It's the season of the passion fruit. Couldn't get any easier, could it? Cheers.
Well, that was fun, Gina.
Right? Now, see how easy it is to use passion fruit? You never would have thought. Like, you think you have to clean it, do all this stuff, whatever. No, they did it all for you. You go to the frozen aisle, you buy the fresh cut, cleaned, perfect passion fruit, no fuss, no mess, boom, use the puree.
I think I'm a little less apt to like stain my clothes this way.
Maybe. Mostly for me, it's the goo of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is nice and clean.
So where are they gonna go to get that tip?
You're gonna go to designateddrinker.show, and you can also watch me in action open one bag on Instagram at Designated Drinker.
But the way you open it, no one can do it like you, Gina.
I mean, literally, I just jam that knife and zip that bag open.
There you go.
It's good.
There you go.
No, you can get some uses out of it.
All right, if you didn't catch that address, which is designateddrinker.show, you can always go to our episode notes, just scroll down on your phone, make sure there's hot links to the website, which will get you to all of Gina's amazing cocktail recipes. Make sure that you get our Insta connect, and if you want to get Elaine's home phone number, we'll make sure that's there too. No, I'm kidding.
Yes, use the home phone number because it doesn't exist.
Iridium phone. No.
I do have an Iridium phone, one of the old ones.
Oh, that would be fun.
We somehow. So funnily enough, it was me and two of my sisters working at Iridium all at the same time.
Does not work.
Yeah, but when you have a company that big and
it works. The phone still works?
Oh no, the phone doesn't work at all. No, the phone doesn't work at all. It's more like a replica, it's like a museum piece.
Got it.
And so, and my dad even wears like the old Iridium jacket.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, because it was good quality back then.
Oh my God, that's so cute. Stop it. I really love it. That's going to be the next person on the show.
Yeah.
Elaine's father.
Oh my gosh. Oh, he would be like,
I love the face.
I know. We took them to the White House on Saturday there was an open house. And so my parents, have never been in the White House in the 53 years that they've been here in the United States.
Wow.
And they were so tickled to be there. Of course, there's a lot of waiting and, there's security, but once they were in there, they're like, oh, wow. It was so cute. It was really cute.
That is cute.
The White House tour is a good, honestly, it's fun. I like the White House tour.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that's going to bring us to the end of part one, Gina. Oh, it's the end of part one.
Say goodbye to Elaine.
No, not yet. It's the end of part one. We've got a whole nother, we have part two to get to, but.
Okay.
All right, so this is going to be the end, like I said, of part one with Designated Drinker, founder and managing director of Mokja Ventures, Elaine Chon-Baker. But if you're anything like me or Gina, one round is just never enough. So go ahead, go top off that cocktail and get ready for part two. See, there's a part two, Gina, of this episode as we continue our boozy banter, and Gina's going to share a cocktail recipe that is sure to bring the trailblazer out of all of us. All right, ciao.
Yeah.
The Designated Drinker Show is produced by Missing Link, a Latina-owned, strategy-driven, creatively fueled production co-op. From ideation to creation, we craft human connections through intelligent, engaging, and informative content. Also in the Missing Link lineup of podcasts is Rodger That, a podcast dedicated to guiding you through the haze of dementia, led by skilled caregivers. Now, if you're looking for a whole new way to enjoy the theater, check out Between Acts, an immersive audio theater podcast experience. Each episode takes you on a spellbinding journey through the works of newfound playwrights, from dramas to comedies and everything in between. Find Missing Link's League of Podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And while you're there, please don't forget to follow, download, and review the shows. Your reviews help our shows reach new audiences. To find out more about Missing Link, visit missinglink.company. That's missinglink.company.